Powered by Virginia Radio.
All right. Music went off real quick there. All right. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Listen, thanks for joining my podcast. My name is Alton Beckett. I'm also known as Big Al. And thank you for joining. Let me say something. Folks, I got to tell you, I had a whole different direction to go into. Something totally different prepared. Did my research, man. I was on it. Then last night I was hearing something and reading something about, well, your boy. Yeah, your boy, Mr. Joe Biden. Now, what got me was that Jim Crow Joe has decided to put in a bill, very quickly, mind you, giving $40 million to aid Ukraine. 40 million. Now, I think we've already given them 8 million. I'm sorry, I said million. Excuse me. $40 billion.
Wow.
40 billion, not 40, $40 billion to aid Ukraine. Now, I think we've already given them 8 billion. I got to check on that. Like I said, the topic came to me last night, and I haven't done all my research on it. So just bear with me here. Okay, but it just sounded crazy. It sounded too crazy for me not to talk about it. Why are we giving a country $40 billion? We are not at war. We are their allies, but we just gave them billions of dollars. We just gave them military tanks, military support. We've given them humanitarian aid. We've given them, and we are still giving them even more. Now, if it weren't for, now it hasn't gone through yet. It hasn't gone through yet, but it's going to go through next week. Congressman Senator Ron Paul, he was the one that stopped it, and he said, and he's not even Republican, and he said we should just think about this for a second. $40 billion to a country that we're allies with to a certain extent, but it's a war. It's their war against Russia. Now, I know you're saying, well, Al, why would we do that? Well, I'm going to explain this to you. First of all, we're doing it because we are trying to get rid of Putin without firing a shot. Our war is against Putin. Okay? And don't ever think we're not at war, because we're at war right now. But we don't have the guts to face Putin, because Putin already told us to mind our own business. He's already told us to mind our own business. He already said there'll be consequences. He told that old dude this, Jim Crow Joe. He told him that. But he's going to ignore him and going to try to slip through the cracks and be all stealth. Joe, you ain't stealth. You ain't stealth. Okay? You're not even all that smart, man. How are you going to be giving them $40 billion, but we ignore border control? Did border control get 40 billion, excuse me. I even have trouble saying them. 40 billion. Doesn't even come out my mouth the right way. $40 billion. Okay? To one country. One country. So we give them $40 billion. Great. But border control didn't get $40 billion. Nope. You know, they're still hand-tied. You know, they're still hog-tied because they can't hire a whole lot more people. They can't expand border control. The Democrats won't let it happen. Unbelievable. You know, we didn't give $40 billion to immigration to take care of that problem, which was already taken care of during the previous administration. Now, what's happening is that we have people crossing the border on buses, mind you, that we provide them, okay? And they're going to sanctuary cities with places to stay, clothes to wear, food to eat, and they're not even citizens. And they're not even legal. They're illegal aliens. But we're shipping them all across the country quietly. He doesn't want anybody to know that. And they're going to certain sanctuary cities, San Antonio, Albuquerque, some even further west. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We sent Ukraine $40 billion, but we did not use that $40 billion to attack homelessness. How can that be? How can we send all that money to another country and not handle our problems right here at home with that $40 billion? Because a little while ago they were saying they didn't have enough money to address homelessness. They didn't have enough money to look into all this. All of a sudden they got $40 billion. You know, and I get it. I'm just gonna say, Al, as far as the country is concerned, $40 billion's not that much. I'll be damned if it's not. It's $40 billion going out of our country to another country who's at war with a country that told us to stay out of it. So if we're not at war, why are we in it? I'm just not following this. I'm just not. Someone explain this to me, because I'm not following this whatsoever. It's pretty. I don't want to say it's stupid, but it's stupid. It's stupid. And I think the thing that gets me most is that they really feel like the American people don't know that we're so stupid we can't figure this stuff out. I mean, that's what I just that's what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand. You know, why do you think that? Why would you think that we can't figure this out? Why would you think that we don't know what's going on? Well, because the Democrats have been sending us a certain narrative for the last several years, ever since Trump took over. They've been trying to change the narrative, change it this way, etc. And they realize that they are in control of the narrative. You know, remember what Biden said? He said, the reporter asked him about gas prices. He said, those are Putin's gas prices. You know, remember, he said, well, the gas prices have gone up. Those are Putin's gas prices. That's Putin's gas hike. Man, Putin not even over here, man. Come on. Putin's not even over here. You know, inflation is going through the roof. I filled up my car yesterday at $4.23. A year ago, well, 2 years ago, it was like $2 and something. But now, it was $4.25. Okay? I feel bad for you Uber and Lyft drivers, because y'all have to hustle to make some money on those gas prices. You know, inflation, you know, in case you're wondering what inflation is, and just to make it real simple for people that are wondering about that, inflation is simply the reduction of buying power. Okay, it's just a reduction of buying power. You have your money, but you have an increase in the price of the goods that you want to purchase. Therefore, your money that you make, which doesn't change, cannot buy as many goods as you could before. So that's basically inflation. Okay? And so with inflation going through the roof, your dollar gets weaker and weaker and weaker and buys less and less and less. So if that's the case, then why would you send $40 billion out of the country? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's simply silly. It's simply silly. And why isn't there protest about that? Why aren't people yelling and screaming about that? Okay? Don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't like war any more than anybody else. You know, and they keep saying that how Russia is bad and how they're killing children and how we're doing. You know, listen, war is war, man. That happens in every single war. This war is nothing special when it comes to pain and suffering. The Ukrainians are not special when it comes to pain and suffering. I applaud the fact that they're fighting the best they could, but their president is going all around asking for all kinds of help, etc. I mean, it's. I don't know how we can keep allowing this, but the reason why we do is because it's a fight against Putin and Russia, and like I said earlier, we're trying to beat him without firing a shot. Unbelievable. Okay. We haven't put $40 billion towards health care. Towards health care. You know, I went to get I take some high blood pressure medication, and it's called Valsartan, Valsartan, and I went there. I went to get it. I had changed insurance companies, and they sent me a notice saying that, oh, you had to pay for this because whatever reason they didn't have my information, whatever. So they said, well, you come pick it up. When you do, make sure you bring us $300 for a little thing like this. $300. I was like, whoa, that can't be right. So I went over there, they got my insurance, and I didn't have to pay for it. But the bottom line was that the bottom line is $40 billion put towards health care could make a serious difference. You know, people shouldn't have to pay through the nose to sustain their life. People shouldn't have to pay through the nose to get medications that will help them have a better life. $40 billion could have done something to help these people. You can't tell me he wouldn't have done it. You cannot tell me they wouldn't have. Okay? It is for me, it's almost inexcusable to have a president that does not put America first. Okay? Does not put America first. I heard Biden say, oh, those MAGA people, those people are crazy. You know, the Make America Great Again people, like yours truly. And there's a lot of us out there now. Not everybody's coming forward, but there's a lot of us out there. Believe it. Believe it. You know, but he said that we're crazy. You know, and when I say, and that's what I mean by trying to control the narrative. They see themselves losing the midterms this November. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to do everything they can to throw dirt on all Republicans, particularly the number one Republican, Donald Trump. Now, what's going to happen is, as we approach midterms, there will be all kinds of subpoenas, all kinds of lawsuits towards Donald Trump. I guarantee it. They'll start dragging his people, his children, everybody. Now will they pursue, let's say, Hunter Biden, who the FBI now has admitted that on his laptop, where he has something called, I can't remember the name of the the head of state, but he wanted to see his father. He said appointment with big guy, 3:00. Big guy, come to find out, is Joe Biden when he was vice president. People were paying for access to the vice president. People of foreign countries were paying for access to the vice president, and they were paying Hunter Biden, and then in turn, Hunter was giving his father a piece of it. Okay, it is payola in the worst form. It is payola in its worst form, and just so you know, that's considered treason. But everyone's ignoring that. No one wants to follow up on that. No one wants to push that. I mean, they have the information. They got them cold. They got them cold. But they're going to leave that alone until after the election, possibly. More than likely, they're going to try to cover it up. You know, $40 billion. Biden said he's going to end systemic racism. How he's going to do that, I have no idea. How he would do that, I have no idea. Why he would even say it is to win an election. $40 billion going out of this country, out of our treasury to another country. Makes no damn sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. And keep in mind, too, after the inflation, it's going to be recession. Okay? And that's going to be an economic downturn for the recession. Okay, where your trade activity is reduced. You'll see that Dow Jones plummeting. Dow Jones is doing that right now. For those of you that have stocks and bonds and investments and all that, it's going down the tubes, man. My portfolio looks like crap. Looks like crap. For some people that thought they didn't have to work, you got to better get out there and work, as long as this guy's in charge. I gotta tell you. I gotta tell you, this I swear to God, loud. This president is the most incompetent president that I've seen in a while. Well, probably period in my lifetime, and I've been around 60 plus years. And I don't understand why no one's going after this guy. And they all seem afraid of Trump. I get it. I get it. As I said in one of my early podcasts, you got an alpha male. Trump's an alpha male. You can't tell him what to do. He ain't scared. You can threaten him. With what? He's got money. He's got prestige. You can't threaten him anything. You got nothing on the guy. But Joe Biden, look at my record. He's been around 40 years in Congress. That is, I got to tell you, 40 years in Congress is 32 years too long. No one should be in politics 40 years in the same position. It is too long. It is too tempting to do things that you shouldn't be doing. It is just, you get too many contacts. I mean, it's not right for someone to be in office, the same office, for 40 years. You don't get any there's no new, fresh ideas. You're going to do things the same old way. Okay? And as far as him handling systemic racism, I mean, he contributed to it. But I don't see him solving it. Now, and how he would do that with 40 billion, I'm not saying he would with 40 billion. But I'm just saying that's one of the issues that's being ignored. Why are we ignoring this guy? Why is the press not after this guy, for sending 40 billion? Can you imagine if Trump sent $40 billion to Ukraine or something like that? They would say it's going to Ukraine, but it's for Putin. And remember when somebody was insinuating that Putin had his hand up Trump's ass, making his mouth move? I mean, come on now. Come on. I mean, really, it's almost comical to think what would have happened if Trump had turned the country into where it is now. Inflation, the lack of border control, homelessness. And I don't see why we can't address homelessness. I really don't understand that. I know it's going to be. I know everybody keeps saying it's a state's responsibility, etc. I get all that, but if we can take immigrants, illegal immigrants, put them in buses, take them somewhere to a sanctuary city, put them in housing, get them new clothes, shower, food on a regular basis. Put their children in schools. We put their children in schools. And no, I'm not against kids or schooling, but they're illegal immigrants. They shouldn't even be here. And why are they doing all this? It's not a humanitarian thing. Don't even start talking, I guess, humanitarian or it's the right thing to do. They're doing that because these people, once they become citizens, they're going to be able to vote. And hopefully, according to with the Democrats, they want to have a nice, good old voting bloc in the Spanish community. And I know a lot of Hispanics. I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico for 20 years, and I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. They're independent thinkers. They don't do something because their neighbor does, but they're independent thinkers. They're independent thinkers. So they misjudged the Hispanic community greatly, and it's going to come back to bite them in the butt. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you can do all this for illegal immigrants, why can't you address the homeless the same way or in a similar way? You can put the immigrants in hotels or in places to stay, but you can't take homeless people off the streets. A lot of them are veterans as well that are having trouble adjusting. A lot of the veterans, they went to the VA, but the VA is backed up, etc., paperwork laws and so forth, and they can't get the treatment that they need, so they end up homeless. There's not a damn person I've ever met that said, you know something, when I grow up, I want to be homeless. No one says that. You end up that way. You don't start out that way. And we need to do a lot more to take care of our homeless people, particularly our homeless veterans. I mean, we really need to do a better job. And and for Joe to turn around and say, hey, listen, we're going to send this money to Ukraine, makes absolutely freaking no sense. It really does not. It really, truly does not. How you guys support this man, Jim Crow Joe Biden, it's just beyond me, because everything this guy says is almost a lie. That is when he can remember exactly what he's saying. Oftentimes he does not. But once again, you won't see that on camera too much because they turn away from it. You know, the other day he was on the lawn, on the White House lawn, and a bird pooped on him. Nothing. You know. This is something that is just and I'm not going to go on a lot long because, like I said, I'm not as prepared as I ordinarily am. So this is going to be a shorter podcast. But the only thing I can tell you is that this is something that you guys that we all need to take a look at. Why are we in Ukraine? Okay, why are we sending so much money over there? We're not at war with this country. We're not at odds with this country. And think about it. They want to join NATO and get billions of dollars from all the countries in NATO. That's what Ukraine wants to do. You know, they're not just talking to the United States. They're talking to they're talking to England. They're talking to a whole lot of different countries about trying to get aid and get military aid and humanitarian and all that stuff. That's what they're trying. That's what they're doing. He's just going and, you know, trying to get whatever he can. And I don't blame him. It's his country. It's his country. The president of Ukraine is his country. I understand. You know, but we already gave once. Now we're giving again and again. And we're going to probably, and that bill will be passed next week, by the way. That bill for $40 billion will go through next week. And Biden's going to get up and say, well, you know, the Ukrainians, blah, blah, they're so brave and they're so this and that, the other, etc. We're at war against Putin. We're at war against Putin. And that's just the bottom line. All right? So listen, I'm going to get ready to sign off here because, like I said, I wasn't prepared to go on a long time about that. I just saw it last night. And I just worked on it this morning and did some research on it this morning. You know, but I just want to put my 2 cents in and say it's ridiculous. This is ridiculous for us to keep funding a war that we're not a part of. But understand, this is to try to get rid of Putin without a shot. So listen, I want to thank y'all for taking the time for this podcast, okay? And I really appreciate that, okay? My name is Big Al. I'm ready to sign off. Alrighty, and listen, there's no shame in my game. Truth is what I do. Have a great day. Y'all take care now. Bye.
Powered by Virginia Radio.